Today on Rambling About Cars, unlimited power! Actually, it's limited to 670. That's what you get in the new Corvette Z06 that revs to freaking 8,600 RPM. We're going to talk all about Z06. It's debuted. We're also going to talk about the new Range Rover, the new Mercedes SL, all kinds of SEMA builds. Whew, we've got a lot to talk about, so it's podcast time. We just got to jump into it. I'm Christopher Smith. Across the way, Mr. Chris Bruce. What's going on, man?
Not much. Hey, real quick, like and subscribe. So we put out that challenge last week. If we get 20 subscribers within 2 weeks, we will do shots of hot sauce on the show. Just to let anyone out there know, we're close already. We did 12 subscribers last week. We had been averaging right around 7 subscribers per week before. So if we did it next week, if we only got 7, we would just barely miss it. If we had 12 again, we would easily hit it, and you would be seeing us drinking some hot sauce. But into the show, we have with us Gabriel Vega. He goes by Gabe. He is with us at motor1.com and also with DuPont Registry. And Gabe, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, well, thank you guys for having me. And so, yeah, I work primarily with DuPont. I'm the content manager over there. I'm sort of the end-all be-all of car testing over there, and videos, and now TikTok and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so mainly I just spend my time driving and reviewing. That's,
that sounds like a good job.
Sounds like a great job. And you just did something really fun with Z06. But first, it's quiz time. This is a brand new guest on Rambling About Cars, ladies and gentlemen. So, Gabe, we're going to have just a quick quiz. This is just stream of consciousness. There are no wrong answers. However, you will be judged in the court of world opinion by what you say. Just some quick car questions. What's your favorite car from the 1970s?
1970s? Probably a 911. But that's also the same answer for 60s, 80s, and 90s.
Okay, so, well, the next question was 1980s. So
F40. There's one in the office that I walk by every day, and I just kept falling more and more in love with it the more I saw it. So yeah, probably F40.
And what is your current daily driver?
I actually just bought my first car in forever. I just bought a Mini Cooper Clubman.
Oh, what year?
It's a 22. So I bought it for my fiance in this crazy car market, buying used. Quick little story about buying a car in LA.
Go for it.
I went to a lot to look at a Hyundai Elantra hybrid, MSRP $29,000. So it's pricey, but 52 miles to the gallon in LA is
not bad.
So guess how much the dealer wanted over sticker. Let's just take a guess.
20 grand.
Over sticker, I don't know. I'm going to guess they wanted 35 grand for it.
Do it 20 grand over sticker.
So you're saying what, 52, whatever, 59? I don't know. I can't do math. I'm bad at math.
They wanted nearly $40,000 for this Hyundai Elantra hybrid limit. And funny enough, I was chatting with some of the guys, with Jeff, about how that was our value winner for the Motor One Star Awards. And I went to go.
We're going to talk about it in a future episode here. So thanks for bringing that up.
All right. So I was excited. I got to spend some time with that car, and I was like, that's a surprisingly good car. I want one. 10,000 over sticker. I was like,
that's not okay.
I mean, I'm seeing some dealerships new that are going over sticker. A lot of dealerships, though, new ones, they're trying to sell their new inventory so they can get people into the used cars that they have, which have just absurd markups right now. So, bravo on the Mini.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. It was I counted on the age-old philosophy that Americans don't buy wagons, because the Clubman is like that sort of mini wagon.
Yep.
I went, and they actually gave me a discount, and I was like,
nice
in this economy. But speaking on to that about used car prices, I went to a lot looking for after the shock of that Elantra purchase, I went looking for like a standard Corolla. I was like, we're gonna go for cheap transportation, just nothing exciting, just cheap and reliable.
Well, Elantra shouldn't be an expensive car, but
right.
You're right. Go ahead.
Right. And so I went looking for a base model Corolla, as close to 20 grand as possible. Well, they're out. There's none. There's no Corollas, no RAV4s in the LA area, brand new. but they had a used 2020 Corolla on the lot, XSE. Let's say an MSRP around
high-ish grade.
Yeah, let's say an MSRP of like 27,000.
Yeah.
How much did you think a used XSE with like 15,000 miles was? A 2020 used with 15,000 miles.
I bet they were 35.
I mean, you were saying it was 10 grand. I got to go 37.
Chris, you were spot on. It's 35.
35. Yep.
35.
Yep. Toyotas especially. I've seen it around here as well. There are used RAV4s around here in South Dakota going more than new because nobody has new. One more question here on the quiz, and then we'll jump over to Z06. Here's your choice between 3. Convertible, hardtop, T-top. Yeah. Hardtop?
Yeah.
Okay. Not an open air kind of person.
I feel as though like I was gonna go T-top, but then I thought about like the T-top cars I've been in and like the rattling of the roof when I'm driving around. And then I was like, let's go safe with the hardtop.
That's the thing. There's not a good modern T-top. I wonder with the Hummer EV, because that's going to be a pseudo T-top, at least for the one set of seats. I wonder if that'll kind of fix those issues. And I wonder if it'll kind of bring that back. Because I think the T-top in its own way, I think it has its advantages over a convertible. The fact that you can have that hardtop coupe when you want it and still have, kind of a panoramic roof that you can see through. It's cool, but you're right. The ones from the 80s, especially now that the seals have all dried out, it's not great.
Yeah, and with a 6-figure Hummer, I would hope that the thing doesn't rattle.
Same. Yeah.
But hey, GM gonna GM, you never know, right?
And speaking of GM,
Bronco Rtr.
Speaking of GM being GM, Z06 is like not GM. I mean, we just talked about the car last episode because we had some spy photos come out. Or not spy photos, but teaser that was talking about the red line of 8,500. Actually 8,600 as the teaser suggested. Yeah. 5.5 liter, naturally aspirated, double overhead cam V8. It is officially the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 production car in the world.
And if you're watching on YouTube, Gabe, we're seeing you here. Of the entire Motor One team, you are the only person to have actually seen the Z06 in the metal at this point.
Yes. So why don't you tell us about that experience?
Very special person. So
tell us about
what we're seeing here.
Because very few people have seen this car in person.
Yeah. So initially, I have to say before we dive into Z06, I was not a fan of the C8 design. Something about it just doesn't work for me. I had a C8 press car, and it just, even living with it after a few days, it looked, not to be too harsh, something about it just, it didn't work well for me in from any angle. However, so that I came with into the Z06 with an open mind, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised by seeing this car in person. Now, the one thing that I'm not entirely sure comes across in the photos is how much more elegant this car looks than the regular C8. For some reason, just like the new front bumper design, the new hood design, even the new intake on the side, it all just feels a little bit more cohesive for me. And in this exact spec that we're looking at on the screen, the red convertible with the tan interior and the silver wheels, that looked like a nice, elegant car in person. I know it's like the super performance, go fast one, but that to me looked really, really nice. And that was like my initial impression of the car.
That's an interesting first take, calling it elegant, because it just to let listeners know, I mean, the car does have a completely different front fascia. It has obviously completely different rear fascia. It's wider. It's 3.6 inches wider all around. With that extra width, you're getting wider tires. You're getting 345 series tires at the back, just steamroller spec tires. But with that extra width, you're also getting more airflow coming into the back side of the car to help keep that naturally aspirated V8 cool. So I mean, there's a lot of function going on to the form here, and obviously they also upgrade the suspension. It still has the magnetic ride control, and obviously with the Z06, you still get the Z07 package. If you check that box, you're getting the big carbon fiber wing, you're getting the bigger carbon fiber front splitter, you're getting carbon fiber ground effects, you're getting underbody strakes, you're getting the little winglets up on the front side. You're getting the Michelin Sport Cup tires, actually specifically made for the Z06. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. And when we first saw the teaser, you know, it's interesting that you say elegant, because when we saw that first teaser where they revealed the exterior, showing the silver car, that was just the base Z06 with the smaller wing. And I mean, my first impression was, it doesn't really look much different. It doesn't really look angry like you would expect a Z06, you know, kind of a track focused car to look. It did look kind of elegant. So it's interesting that to hear you say the same thing. And of course, it is available in a convertible, and General Motors, they say the base car is actually already so stiff the way they designed it. There is nothing else needed for the convertible to stiffen it up. So you can go get a convertible Z06 with the Z07 race package and have all kinds of fun. So if I could just get a little bit more from you, Gabe, here on impressions beyond kind of the looks. I mean, were you able to kind of gauge what other people were feeling about the Z06 that were there?
Yeah, I feel like the film that they played, because I know that was like on the live stream, but they played the film in that big hall, and they had these big speakers. So the noise was like almost like vibrating off the walls. And like I saw people getting like really, really into this film. Like it almost like generated like an emotional response from them. And to me, that was really interesting. I was sort of listening to it and thinking about, if this, like, because I loved the way the C8 drives. I got to spend some time with a convertible, and to that point about the stiffness, at no point did I feel like I wish I was in the coupe, or does it need to be? I did launch control, got, you know, very close to 3 seconds, 0 to 60. Like, it's pretty much all you need. But the engine to me was always the weak point in that car, like the low red line. It just didn't feel as sort of exotic as the car looked. But I think now it almost feels like the formula is like complete. And seeing like we can see in the video, like the broken down aspect of the car, and actually the other side of that car is the Z07 package. So you can kind of see like how much more aggressive the Z07 package will be.
Yeah, the Z07, it really adds the aggression that we didn't see with that silver teaser photo. I mean, I think it's kind of a night and day difference. If you're not catching us on YouTube, you want to go to Motor One Podcast on YouTube. We're showing video here right now of Gabe's experience with the Z06. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a cutaway. GM basically had a cutaway car there of a Z06. One side normal, one side completely stripped away. I mean, what you were talking a little bit about that car. What were some of your takeaways on seeing, you know, what's under the skin there?
So the main thing to me was about how tightly packaged that new engine is, and how they've managed to you know, okay, highest horsepower, naturally aspirated V8 ever, but then also fitting it in this tight little space and having it work with all the other components. As you can see in the cutaway, like the transmission is down there. You have like that new exhaust system with all its trickery, and you can't really see any of the trickery from just looking out the outside of the car. It's almost like it's behind that rear diffuser, but just the level of engineering in that car was actually really, really impressive, beyond what it looks like, beyond what I think how good I expected to drive. Just seeing all the hard work that went into it was actually really, really impressive. And overall, for me, the thing that stuck with me the most was the sound. I think maybe just the way they played it in that room, it just sounded like amazing. And
I mean, this is unlike anything, and I can't even emphasize that enough. unlike anything GM has ever done, even really in a racing aspect, never mind a street car. The engine, 670 horsepower. It makes that peak power at 8,400 RPM, 200 RPM shy of its red line. And you're so used to a GM vehicle and a Corvette Camaros, they have the pushrod V8s, which I'm fine with. I know a lot of people think it's an antiquated design. You know what, people? Double overhead cam engines have been around for 100 years. So it's not like one is vastly superior to the other. You get a good compact pushrod engine, you can do a lot with that. This one has, 460 pound-feet of torque. So it actually has a lot less torque versus horsepower. It actually has less torque than the C8 Stingray. The Stingray has 470 foot-pounds of torque. Sorry, pound-feet of torque. This is 460, and it makes its peak torque at 6,300, which I think is hilarious because the C8 Stingray has its peak horsepower at 64. So, I mean, it's to say it's just something completely different. It's still an understatement. The engine, I think, is phenomenal. The sound, I mean, it sounds, well, like you said, the Stingray with the 6.2 liter V8, it's great engine, great power, but it didn't quite match the exotic look. This engine matches the exotic look. It sounds unreal. GM spent 2 years on the exhaust, developing the exhaust just to get it to sound right. And you talked about it, Gabe, in your video, like the little, what is it, like little megaphones or something that they use to actually redirect sound back into the cabin.
Right. And that was, it's funny because I was actually really curious about that because the C8, you can kind of feel the vibrations. You kind of feel you have like that sort of traditional burly sort of V8 behind you. And you kind of do get a sense that it is almost like a through and through Corvette. One of the, I was actually reading through the comments on that video, and a lot of people were pointing out this isn't a Corvette anymore. This isn't, what the Corvette should be, and genuinely, I think that's a good thing because,
yeah, it
Corvette,
is.
Yeah, that's a great thing because Corvette has had the problem where their demographic, the demographic that they're appealing to is, getting a little older.
They're getting along. They're getting along.
Right.
So I just, to that point, I went to a Corvette meet out here in South Dakota, one of the bigger ones actually in the nation that they hold in the Black Hills. It went on when the C8 debuted back in 2019. So I'm up there at the car show, a ton of vets everywhere. I kid you not. I mean, people are getting out of the Corvettes, barely able to stand up with their oxygen bottles. I mean, this is, God bless them. They love the car, but it's an older demographic. And I can't help but think that's the demographic that's probably raising their voices the loudest saying this isn't a Corvette. But here's the takeaway. It's still a sleek 2-door car with a V8 engine turning the rear wheels. The engine's behind the driver instead of in front. I don't think that's that big of a deal. The engine is a double overhead cam instead of a pushrod. I especially don't think that's that big of a deal because Chevrolet's done it before with the C4 ZR1. I mean, that was still a 5.7 liter V8. It didn't rev quite like this one, but I mean, it's sort of been done before. And you're right. Corvette, GM needs to evolve this car because the older way of doing it, I mean, it was kind of falling by the wayside. I'm sorry to say. They could bring back the round taillights. They don't need to have those stupid edgy taillights. You know what? Bring back some round. Ferrari did it. Chevrolet, you can do it with a Corvette, right? I mean, am I crazy on that? Can I at least get my round taillights back on the Corvette?
So I'm not going to, I agree with you there. I do have 2 points I want to raise real quick. Mm-hmm. First off, does anyone else think this thing sounds like a Ferrari 360 Challenge Stradale? Just
it sure does.
Scream. It sounds fantastic. The other thing I wanted to say though is Gabe, Smith, you guys both watched the promo video that they put out. you guys get the same impression that I did, that the Z06 is kind of the C8 that they wanted to build the entire time, and they knew that they needed to have something below it that, you know, would sell better, would be cost less, whatever. But it just seemed like in that video, the Z06 is really what they wanted from the C8 all along.
That's exactly that's exactly what I was thinking about. Like, not only when I saw it, but like walking around it, I'm like, this is like the complete C8 package. Has the look, it has the powertrain to go with it. It's still naturally aspirated, but like, I think this is what they were really working towards. Maybe including, you know, having the C8 with a more sort of traditional Corvette style V8 was a sort of way of easing that demographic into saying, look, it's mid-engine, but it still has the same kind of, you know, burly V8. We're not changing the exhaust note too much. And not too much change at once. Because if imagine if they had dropped this as the C8 back then, everyone would have lost their mind. This is not a Corvette at all. This is not even, you know, so. But yeah, I did get that sense, like you were saying.
I got that as well. There is certainly something to be said for having that familiar 6.2 liter pushrod V8 that's been part of Corvette for a while. Especially the pushrod design, where you're getting the low end torque, you tip into the throttle and it just hits you instantly. I haven't driven this car, obviously. I can't begin to tell you how much I want to. I'm expecting, I mean, it still has, you know, plenty of torque, but at 6,300 RPM, I don't suspect this is going to just like instantly bludgeon you like a sledgehammer as soon as you tip on the throttle. You're going to have to roll onto that gas and let those revs build. I think it's going to be a little bit, maybe even like an S2000, which I have driven. And it might be odd for me to compare S2000 with the new Z06, but I'm very curious if there's that similar experience behind the wheel where you roll into the gas, you're not instantly hit, but you know that there's power there. And then as those revs build, you just get pinned further and further back. That's a very different experience from an old school pushrod with low torque where you hit the gas and it's just boom. But it's each experience is just visceral and exciting in its own right. One thing we don't know about the Z06 yet, actually, there's a lot we don't know about the Z06 yet. Chevrolet, they didn't want to talk about top speed, which I thought was interesting. I asked after the fact, I wrote the debut article on this. And I said, hey, do you guys have any stats that you want to share? 0 to 60 top speed, price, no on price, no on top speed, although the release says the Z06 with the Z07 performance package with all the aero makes 734 pounds of downforce at 186 miles an hour. So,
which you're never going to hit.
We can assume it at least goes 186 miles an hour. In their 25-minute launch film, they did say the Z06 goes 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. That's with, you know, the Z07 package with the stickier tires. 2.6 is pretty darn good for a rear-wheel drive car. This isn't all-wheel drive. It's rear-wheel drive. They were also, I think, teasing Nürburgring lap times, because in that that launch film, they devoted a fairly significant amount of time to talking about being at the Nürburgring and testing it. And I was just waiting for them to drop a time. They didn't drop any time. I mean, it's not going to be. I mean, it's not going to be going after, you know, the 911 GT2 RS. But I mean, could it be under 7 minutes?
That'd be tight. I don't know.
670 horse with the downforce. I mean,
GT2 RS has all of that aero stuff. Like, I don't know.
Not only that, I was watching just like 2 days ago, like a Nürburgring lap time. It was like a GT2 RS versus a McLaren 620R, and the McLaren can't match the GT2 RS, even though that's like the track focus. It's like the baby McLaren, but it's still like the track focused one.
Right.
And I was very, very surprised by that. And also, like, something I wanted to mention to the point of the 0 to 60, something I noticed while I was there is that it can, the Z07 package car can do that because it has Cup 2 Rs, which the Cup 2 is already an aggressive tire as it is. I was actually driving a Lotus like 2 days ago that had Cup 2s in the rain, which was fun. But
no, it's not.
But this one has Cup 2 Rs, and I cannot imagine how difficult it must be to get those tires hot enough to be able to do that 2.6. I can imagine people will get the Z07 package, do full launch control, and spin their way out because their tires are way too cold. That was something that definitely stood out to me.
So I know we need to transition to our next topic, but I just wanted to throw this out there. Do you guys think this will be the last purely combustion powered Corvette? And what I mean by that is no turbos, no hybrid. This will be the last one with a naturally aspirated engine in it.
Probably.
I think, I hadn't considered that, Bruce, but you might be onto something there, because if the leaked information proves correct, and thus far what we've had says it's correct, the next Corvette will be a hybrid E-Ray.
Right. We'll get maybe the ZR1, which will be a turbocharged version of this engine.
It'll be a twin turbo of this. And then Zora would be...
which will be hybrid and twin turbo.
Hybrid and twin turbo, right. So,
this could be the end of the line for purely naturally aspirated Corvette.
It's not going out with a whimper. We'll say that.
Oh no, it's going out with a bang. I'm
not necessarily a Corvette, crazy person.
Same.
I'm really into this car. It's a niche halo car. It's never going to be a volume seller. This is probably going to be six figures right out of the box.
Maybe 6 figures.
Maybe they'll squeak it in at like 94 or 95 grand for the base entry level model.
I would bet it's 99.5 for the base model, and then for the Z07 $105.
So it's GM they're not going to be getting 40,000 reservations for Z06s. But it's a great way to send the Corvette out if it is the last naturally aspirated Corvette. So, Gabe, it was awesome that you were there. Yeah. Please stick around with us as we talk about something even more exciting. No, I can't even.
It's not more exciting. It's something that
it's different. It's
been a long time coming.
Different. It's been a long time coming. Talking about the Range Rover.
Right. The 2022 Land Rover Range Rover. And if you think, wait, isn't there a 2022 Land Rover Range Rover already? You're technically right. This is more, Land Rover doesn't go by this. It's more of a 2022 and a half. Technically, the generations, they kind of span this gap. So,
and that's from Land Rover directly, because Bruce, you wrote this up, and didn't you get the word from them that technically you have.
So our boss Brandon actually got that word.
Okay.
Yeah, Brandon got that word, but that's confirmed that there are both previous gen 2022 Range Rovers and new gen 2022 Range Rovers coming.
You'll at least be able to tell them apart, at least from the back. From the front, there's a lot of similarity in the front. Bruce,
yes and no. Tell us about this. I mean, so here, let me start the slideshow going here. So as you can see here, it looks similar, but it doesn't look the same. It's like to me, it's like they took a razor blade to it and they kind of just took off all of the hard edges. They took off all of the sharp lines. It's a much, much smoother Range Rover than what we've seen in the past, especially if you could ever see one compared to the original, which I was looking at recently. It's a much just smoother design. And I don't know how much I love that. I kind of feel like they might have taken some of the character out of it. Like maybe they neutered it too much, but that's a matter of opinion. That's a matter of taste. Like different people are going to feel different ways about that. I'm going to stop this a second. So As I originally wrote this story, because we didn't have this information when I got the press release, we got it later on, but we do have American market pricing for it. So it starts at $104,000 plus a $1,350,000 or $1,350, not thousand. I'm sorry, that would be stupid. Destination fee, and that is for the P400 SE. That gets you a mild hybrid 3-liter turbocharged inline six, making 395 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque, which is respectable. The other engine we're getting in the US is a BMW sourced, because if you look back, kind of Land Rover, Jaguar, they've kind of formed this pseudo relationship with BMW for some engine sharing. So you'll get BMW's 4.4 liter twin turbocharged V8, and that's in every other model that's coming into the US for now, for a little while. And so with that, you get 523 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. We do know that a plug-in hybrid version is coming. Land Rover confirmed that in their release, and that version will have, oh, I lost it. Oh no.
And I think there's
436 or something like that.
Something like that. Isn't there also a fully electric one in the works?
Okay. So sorry, 434 horsepower for the plug-in hybrid. And so 2023, you're getting the plug-in hybrid. 2024, you're getting the fully electric version. We have no details on the fully electric version yet. We do at least know that the plug-in will have 434 horsepower.
Okay. I wonder, and I don't know, Bruce, if you know this, if they engineered the Range Rover with the idea of having a dedicated electric version in mind, this new one, or if it's going to be kind of, yeah, we can make it work, but it's not ideal. You know what I mean? I mean, we've seen quite a few vehicles offering both, but they've generally been engineered from the beginning with the idea of electric power in mind.
So the new Range Rover is riding on Land Rover's MLA Flex platform, and I believe that does allow for either purely combustion, plug-in, or hybrid, depending, or fully electric. That they basically they have this platform that can work for whatever it is that they need. And so that's why they can offer all three powertrain options. Okay.
It's it's a looker. I mean, I think it looks good on the outside. I think it has a very organic look, and I'm going to say that again here in a little bit, talking about another vehicle. It just has a very smooth kind of organic look. I really dig the taillights. Just the kind of the thin sliver of the taillights on this. The interior looks gorgeous. I mean, it's a Range Rover. It's going to look amazing, but wait in 5 years and buy it for half price.
So Clint Simone, who has been on the show before, he is our video director, and he did our video about this. And there's something I want you to notice, and that is
his shirt.
Oh, his shirt's fine. He just looks like a bowler. He's fine.
He's refereeing a football game after this. Sorry, Clint. You're an awesome
like a bowling shirt. It looks like he's about to go 10.
Anyways, that's two people that get to punch me in the face now after this episode.
Yeah. But look at how much those wheels fill the wheel wells. And my issue is that this doesn't look like an off-roader anymore. Like, it doesn't look like a vehicle you could take. Like, look at the ground clearance as well. Look at how close to the road it is. I just worry that, has the Range Rover gotten soft?
I don't know that it's gotten soft. I mean, you could argue that it's been soft for a while. People aren't necessarily rock crawling on these, at least not with those rubber band spec tires. I feel like a Petoskey stone could puncture one of those things.
I just feel as though they've gotten away from what a Range Rover should be. A Range Rover should be luxurious but rugged, and it should combine both of those things together in a very cohesive way. If you look at this image we're looking at on YouTube right now, and you look at how low it sits and how big those wheels are, and how little sidewall there is,
it's not rugged.
You would never take this thing off-road, because if you did, it would be just bone jarring, or you would puncture one of those tires, or both.
Yeah, rugged does not come to my mind at all. Gabe, I know you got something to say here. I'll be quiet for a little bit.
I'll play devil's advocate on behalf of the Range Rover. What if, and the first thought that I had when I saw the smoothed out design was, I thought it was going to be electric. Just looking at the photos, not reading about the press release or anything, I thought, okay, they smoothed it out, better coefficient of drag, it's an EV. What if it's lower, so it is more aerodynamic for the sake of it being an EV? I know, like, for example, the Defender, you can have the air suspension to raise it up if you need it. And I don't know if there's going to be another you can option the other trim levels to be more sort of off-roady. But the way I look at it in this sort of stance that it has, it looks very sleek and aerodynamic and sort of down low, almost purposefully so. So that's kind of what I was. And in terms of the platform, maybe the way they're going to do the EV is something similar to the way Polestar does the Polestar 2, where they stack the batteries where the transmission would go or where the engine would go. So it's not like this big battery pack, but it's almost like in little sections. So maybe that's how that works. But yeah, I was very surprised to hear that it wasn't at least a plug-in right from the get-go, at least with that smooth design.
You know, that's a good point that you make of just about the design. It does look like they're thinking about slipstream and aerodynamics and efficiency with that design, thinking electric vehicle. And I mean, we see it sitting fairly low here, but I mean, does this not have adjustable suspension where you can raise it up?
It does have an air suspension. I don't have the specs in front of me to say how much it can raise, lower, etc.
So,
but it does come with an air suspension.
I think the extent that people will take this off-road is going to be, traveling down somebody's dirt road, or maybe taking a 2-track to get back to the lake for a spot of tea. But I mean, we're not going to see this at Moab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right. And
it's a balance.
You have a point, you have to balance between,
though. Right.
You have to balance between luxury and ruggedness, especially when you're talking about a vehicle like the Range Rover. And
there's no ruggedness.
It doesn't seem rugged at all.
You're right. There's no ruggedness. There's no ruggedness to it. So,
but it is what it is. It's also an impressive vehicle. If you look at it, the luxury that it's offering looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, you could put this up, especially when you're talking about the SV grade, up against a Mercedes Maybach, up against, what we're probably going to be seeing from Audi or BMW in the future. Like, it's incredibly nice. But is that what you want from a Range Rover? Is that what a Range Rover is supposed to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it.
Well, and I'll tell you what, too, if you are not a fan of this whole full glass digital cockpit thing that we're seeing with, like, especially with Mercedes, but even the Escalade and other vehicles, Land Rover kind of went the other direction in this. There's a very modest touch screen in the center. There's the digital dash right behind the driver, and that's it. It's not a digital cockpit, or it's not a glass cockpit by any means. So it still has some of that, I guess, traditional look about it. I mean, I like them both. I like the digital, the all glass look. I also like this look. This has a more classic, I think, more of an elegant feel. Definitely not rugged, though. Do we know when this is going to go on sale?
I believe they're saying the initial versions are first quarter of 2022. If you give me a second, I will tell you. Hold on. So, I mean,
I still think it's funny that, yes, there are two different 2022 Land Rover Range Rovers. I mean, once upon a time, it wasn't that uncommon to see, like, what they would call a mid-year model. Mm-hmm. A 0.5 model year. In fact, I mean, you get with some of the hardcore Mustang people, it's not 1965, it's 1964 and a half is when the first Mustang. So it's not an uncommon thing for Land Rover to just lump two different generations in one year. So I mean, does that mean we have, like, the Land Rover Range Rover Classic and then the Range Rover?
So the regular Range Rover is going to be available in the first half of 2022. If you want the SV or any of the plug-in hybrid models, that's going to be second half of 2022, which is technically 2023 model year.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we're getting a little long on time. Let's do a quick discussion about another very expensive...
Wait. Gabe didn't give us anything, or he gave us very little. Gabe, give us some Range Rover thoughts real quick.
So I think one of the things that I think is maybe not like a major selling point of this new model, but I think that 4.4 liter V8 from BMW is way better suited to the Range Rover than the old 5-liter V8. I actually have the old 5-liter V8 below me in a parking garage in an F-Pace SVR. And getting into that, I was reminded this is really sort of like a muscle car SUV. And I felt that way also with the Range Rover, but I think having that sort of more refined powertrain will go closer in line with what like the person who actually buys these things. And to the point of like the ruggedness, I feel like they're pivoting because the buyer that buys the Range Rover doesn't really go off-road. Like, you know, the Defender is offered with a million extras because Defender people are more likely to actually use it. Whereas it seems as though the Range Rover buyer, and also just talking to like some, you know, folks over through DuPont Registry and what they look for in a car and what they want, is they almost want to feel like they're in something big and capable, like it can do it, but they almost don't need it to do it at all. They just kind of want to know that it can and then be really soft and cushy every other day. So it seems like they're I mean, for the market that actually buys these things, it seems like they're really, really paying attention to what that buyer wants. Now, is it in line with the sort of heritage of the Range Rover, of what a Range Rover might or should be? But I mean, they're definitely pivoting to what sells. So it sort of makes sense that it is how it is.
You make a lot of good points. We need you on this program more often, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. God, I hadn't thought about it that way. Let's bring your thoughts to the, and this is kind of breaking news for us folks, because technically this car debuts tomorrow as we're recording this. Bruce hasn't even seen it yet. He doesn't know anything about it.
I've seen it. I just don't know.
Well, you've seen it. You don't know anything about it. I kind of glanced at a press release before the show started. Gabriel spent a little bit more time. How about the new Mercedes-Benz SL, everybody?
SL. So I'm actually really excited about this car. I get accused of being a Mercedes fanboy, but I'm very, very excited about this car. Now, one of the first lines that stood out to me about the press release is where it says, "Comfort on par with a luxury sedan." And what I thought of that was the S-Class, which I've actually driven like, 3 weeks ago. So if that's the sort of standard that they're going for, then this car could really be something special. Now, in sort of like the raw stats, you have the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 that Mercedes puts in basically everything these days. It's a great engine. We've seen it all, you know, in many different configurations, from big SUVs to the GT Roadster. It seems to work in whatever they put it in. They call it a multi-clutch 9-speed transmission. It's just really a dual clutch. But that's also a fantastic transmission. And obviously you have your driving modes, you have your Sport Plus, that sort of thing. Now, the one thing that I thought was kind of interesting is they went back to the soft top, no hard top option. And it is a 2+2.
For the first time in 2 generations, right?
It's something like that. I think it's neat to have some of these soft top backs instead of the
it's been a while.
Hard tops.
Yeah, like the AMG, like the GT Roadster was also a soft top, and I thought that worked really well. It also gives you an opportunity to add like a contrasting color onto there, obviously with like the personalization and whatnot. But you get all-wheel drive.
That's huge. That's like the first time. All-wheel drive.
So it is all-wheel drive. You do have an active rear wing, so you have some active aero on it. And also, one thing that was interesting was that they were doing a lot of comparisons between this SL and the old one rather than the AMG GT Roadster. And I don't know if you guys know, but is this the direct replacement for the GT Roadster, or is this going to run alongside it? Because the press release made it seem like this was the next chapter, almost leaving those two other ones behind.
So my understanding is that they will run alongside each other briefly, 1, maybe 2 years, and then eventually this will take its place.
Yeah. I think the this will replace the AMG
in the long run. Yeah, there might be a period where you can get both, but it's not going to be an extended period.
Right. And I mean, and I'm fine with that. I think this.
Oh, totally.
I said earlier the new Range Rover has an organic look. This has an even more organic look. I think right now, and I'm going to say it right here, I think this has the best automotive backside of any new car that you can get right now. This thing just looks gorgeous from the rear.
I can't disagree with that.
With the slim tail lights, it's kind of wide, but it's got a really short drop off there. Yeah, zoom in on that photo, Bruce. Look at that.
I'm zooming.
You know, those vents on the side are nice and symmetrical. Yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park with the styling on this. I really like it.
And so we're also getting AMG versions on release. Mm-hmm. They're bringing back the SL55 name, and we're keeping obviously SL63. Something I thought was actually kind of interesting, and it sort of made me realize how spoiled we really are with horsepower these days. I was reading the performance figures for the SL55, 469 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. And I was like, is that not a lot? Like, is that...
That is a lot. No, you're absolutely right. Because I was reading that too, and it was just like, that sounds kind of weak. And it was like, wait a minute, that's still 0 to 60 in like 4 seconds, if not even a little bit quicker. Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, and 500. Like, when did we begin to read 500 pound-feet of torque as like? It could be more, I guess.
I still don't, to be honest with you. That's still like heavy duty pickup truck numbers to me. And I know it's probably just because I'm an old dude or something, but yeah.
No, it's just a sign of the times. Cars have obviously gotten way more powerful. They've also gotten a little heavier, so you don't necessarily feel that power quite as much. I'm still in the school of, if you have somewhere like 500 horsepower, I think is sort of the magic number for me in most performance cars. It's enough to where it's really exciting and it can really give you a thrill when you roll on the gas, but it's not so much as to where you're going to be holding on for dear life trying to control the thing. As long as you have a good set of tires on the back, first gear, might be a smoke show, but grab second and you can use it. You get much beyond that, and you're either pedaling it on the street or you're leaving all the assist on, which will be cutting your power anyway. So it's kind of just wasted. If you want to go to a track, sure, you might be able to exercise it a little bit more there. But I still think in a street car, 500, maybe 550, that's a nice, comfortable number. And you know what? At 577 for the SL, for the 63, this could be a great car.
Yeah, so all-wheel drive, 577 horsepower, almost 600 pound-feet of torque. I think I like the fact that it's all-wheel drive. I don't at all will miss that it's not exclusively rear-wheel drive, and it's still a rear drive biased all-wheel drive system anyway, so it'll have like that sort of, let's say, traditional SL feel. But that is tremendous power, and with all-wheel drive, it'll put it down like nothing. Now, one thing that I was also thinking about, given like the power figures of this and comparing how much power this exact V8 makes in, like, for example, the GT63S, it's almost like they're leaving room for something else on top of the 63.
Oh, I think they totally are.
It's something maybe hybridized.
I was about to say like an SL73E.
Yeah. Right. It almost felt like there was like a third one up there that's missing that I'm sure we'll see at
3 years down the line, I bet, something like that. Yeah. I think you're totally right.
I think also like the difference between for example, the SL55 gets steel springs, whereas the 63 gets your traditional sort of air suspension setup. It'll be really interesting to see how they differ performance-wise. I know the 63 also has active engine mounts and such, so it's more in line with let's say like the GT Roadster or something like that. But I like the idea of an SL55 with steel springs and almost like without all the bells and whistles, and seeing how that really stacks up to the 63. And to like the earlier point about 500 horsepower being like a magic number, I totally agree with that. Like so this week I'm testing. I have a Aston Martin Vantage F1 edition, which is low 500s, 527 I think. And I was up in the canyons yesterday, and I had a moment where I was like, this is the right amount of horsepower before this gets really dangerous. I think it was the sweet spot. You can floor it from anywhere, and it's totally fine. And I think beyond that, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of that with EVs, like it must get kind of crazy. So I think a steel spring SL55, I think that one will be
it could be a keeper.
Hey, Gabe, can you start sending me cars to Northwestern Ohio? Because I haven't seen an Aston Martin here in ever. So, yeah, if you could just start sending me a couple of those, I'd be fine with that.
You know, that's just LA, man. That's LA. You got.
When was the last time you saw an Aston Martin in South Dakota, Smith?
Yeah, that's the son of crickets, isn't it?
Okay.
Well, that would be never. Although I did see a Bugatti Veyron, was it about a year and a half ago? Dude was just cruising on the highway. I was in the Mustang. Of course, I mean, the roof is down. I'm on the highway. The exhaust is loud. I'm trying to get up next to him to give him a thumbs up. And he's probably thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to crash into me. When I finally got next to him, I mean, he was petrified. He looked petrified behind the wheel. It must not have been his, but he was just like, it's like the speed limits out here are 80. And he was probably doing about 70. So I'm up next to him, 75. And I'm like, hey, nice car. He's just like eyes wide, just completely focused. And then he got off the highway down the road. So that's my exotic car in BFE, South Dakota story.
So yeah, oh, go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead.
I was going to say because I just moved to LA, like what, a week and a half ago, probably.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So yeah, I'm like, it's totally new here.
And where are you from originally?
Originally from Puerto Rico. I lived in South America, then Miami, and now here.
Cool.
But that was the big deciding factor to move here, was like, I can actually do my job way better because I can actually get cars that are relevant to DuPont and to their audience and whatnot. But one thing I did notice, the car culture here in LA, aside from being insane and like just the metal that you see rolling down the road is like just on a normal Wednesday afternoon is insane. But the attitude towards supercar owners here is also really interesting, because they almost like immediately look at you like the supercar douchebag. Like it's like immediate, like. So when I moved here, I had the Evora GT. That was the first car that I got when I got here. And I went to IKEA to get some furniture. And turns out the boxes I ordered did not fit in the car.
No, because I could imagine that. Why didn't you call me? Right. That's not going to work.
So I had so slight miscalculation there. But I decided, you know what? I'm just, a pride thing. I'm going to open these boxes and I'm going to throw everything in the car one by one. And the amount of people that were just looking at me with disgust, like, oh, this guy in the IKEA parking lot in his bright blue Lotus throwing pieces of furniture in the car. But yeah, totally different than Miami. Miami people are really nice, of like, oh, wow, cool car, like nice, whatever. Over here, totally different story.
Interesting. Folks, what's your supercar story? What do you think of the Z06? What do you think of the SL? Is the Range Rover rugged enough? Email us, comment. Podcast@motor1.com is our email. You can always comment on our videos at YouTube, Motor One Podcast. You can always comment on our articles that go up every Friday at motor1.com. Guys, I don't think we're really going to have time to do some comments this week.
I was going to do one super quick.
Okay, let's do one super quick, because we've got to talk about SEMA, because SEMA starts next week.
Yes. So our buddy Ted asked this question. Quick question in terms of luxury. Does a luxury car from a decade ago compare to a luxury car from now. And his example is, does a 21 Kia K5/Stinger or Telluride compare to a Mercedes sedan SUV from a decade ago? And so let's ignore infotainment stuff, because that's what's kind of evolved the most. Because obviously a car from a decade ago, I own a car from I own a car from far more than a decade ago, and no, the infotainment is nothing like that. Let's talk material quality, luxury, ride, stuff like that. So what do you think?
I think the answer is still no. I think if you just go back 10 years, like a Mercedes from 10 years ago versus a new K5 of today, you're still going to get an upscale luxury feel in the Merc. You're still going to get some different equipment. You're still going to have a better materials, better feel.
See, that's the thing. I agree with you. You are still going to get better material quality in terms of Mercedes from 10 years ago versus a luxury Kia from now. The tech, obviously the tech now is going to be better, even if you look at the tech in a current Kia versus a 10-year-old Mercedes.
But does tech really translate to luxury, though? That's where that's where I think it's a little debatable.
Yeah. And Gabe, be our tiebreaker. What do you think?
So I think it really depends. Like a well-maintained, let's say we're talking 2011 S-Class, a well-maintained,
that's basically what he
air
said.
Suspension. I think the material quality would still be higher. I still think the ride quality would still be higher. But I think the difference is that the tech is so intertwined with what makes a driving experience now. Like that K5, like the highway driving assist system on that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it would totally transform a road trip. Like, even though I would be way more comfortable in a 10-year-old Mercedes, a well-maintained one,
right,
I would still take the Kia, because the tech really transforms that, and the driving, like a road trip with that highway driving assist system or radar cruise control or anything like that. Better in terms of driving, probably, depending depending which model we're talking about. But to sit in, I would take the 10-year-old car. To own, I would take the new one.
Okay.
It's a very great question. It's a
great question.
We get the best questions from our listeners and our commenters. So
we do. And we got, I think, 6 or 7 comments on YouTube this week. We got 1 comment on email. We got great comments, and it's not that we don't think your comments are great. It's just time limits. We kind of try to keep this to. This
has been a week, man. We've had debut after we didn't even cover all of the debuts.
We didn't cover Sportage at all. We could have covered more. So
we could have covered Sportage. We could have covered. We still have a lot of SEMA stuff. Yeah. There's some other debuts coming out this week. Yep. But because SEMA is this weekend. We didn't have SEMA. Okay, we had SEMA sort of last year in an online thing. So it's back this year, and automakers, we're getting lots of stuff from automakers about things that they're going to have in their booth. So be a good time to just talk about, not all of them. We're not going to have time to talk about all of them, but we can brush on some of the more interesting ones. I personally want to talk about the 96 Honda Accord wagon.
I can pull that up for you.
Oh, you want to pull it up right now, or do you want to go with something first?
Well, I was just throwing that out. The one that I'm interested in as well. But
why don't you start with that, and I'll go with the wagon here in a little bit.
Okay. So Toyota is showing off a Tacoma with they're calling it the Tacozilla, and
Tacozilla.
That's what they're calling it. But so back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was this company that made what they called the Chinook package for the Toyota. It was just called the pickup at the time. We kind of call it the Hilux today because the European thing kind of inspired it. But it was just the Toyota pickup. And it was this full kind of conversion for the back end of a Toyota pickup. And it gave you a camper back there, basically. And they were really well made. They sold well for what they were. You could get them from select Toyota dealerships. And at SEMA, they're going to take a modern Tacoma and they're going to try to do the same thing. And from what we've seen, it looks damn cool. like it, like I like it, and I kind of hope they offer it. Am I sharing this window? I am not sharing this window that
I was about to say, if you don't have it, I can bring it up.
No, I've got it right here. I thought I was sharing it and I was just wrong.
That was me a couple weeks ago. So thanks for being that way.
Yep. So yeah, so you see here, we got a Toyota Tacoma, and they are going to throw this kind of integrated thing on the back, and you can see here the Toyota Chinook, and it was available. So the company that made them and Toyota were separate. There was a certain agreement they made for a little while where you could actually buy them from dealers, but once that deal expired, they still made them, and they were just cool. It was a Toyota camper, and for the time, it was a small-ish truck. It was very maneuverable. It was something you could sleep in, certainly overnight, maybe for a weekend. As far as I know, they never had showers, toilets, stuff like that. But, other than that, it was a nice little camper, and they were cool. And so for SEMA this year, they're going to revive that idea, and they're going to revive that look. And we're kind of seeing that here. And they don't have actual pictures of it yet. There was a rendering. Do you have the rendering? There was a rendering they released.
I sure do. Yeah, there it is. So I mean, that's in theory, that's what it's going to look like. It's kind of cool, I'm really interested to see the finished product.
Same.
Which hey, we'll see it next week. Yeah, obviously overlanding camper scene, it's huge right now. I mean, it was growing. It was growing before COVID.
And then once COVID hit, and it became huge because
it became huger. So yeah,
you can take a vehicle like this, and you don't have to worry about social distancing. You could take a vehicle like this to a national park or a state park or something like that. You could go out, you could do a little off-roading, and then when you're done for the day, pull off, and you can sleep there. And you're never in contact with another person. You don't have to worry about any of that type of stuff. And it looks cool, and yeah, it's a neat idea. I'm in support of it.
Well, I think it also.
Go ahead, Gabe.
I was just gonna say, I think it also, aside from being like perfect for the overlanding crowd, it also, if it is something that you can buy from a dealership or from factory, you can order. It also opens up the possibility of having somebody finance this thing, rather than buying a Tacoma and then trying to pull together all the parts to build an overlanding rig.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and it might open it up to more people who want to just buy a finished product. They just want to buy a turnkey and go.
Just turnkey, lump all the financing in like Ford and Jeep are trying to do.
84 months, just do Bronco.
Just go for it, man.
84 months, and
just sign on the dotted line, like Ford and Jeep are trying to do with Bronco and Wrangler, having all of these accessories that you can buy. You might buy them aftermarket otherwise, but no. We can sell them to you right now, lump it into your financing, out the door. You can pay all the extra interest on it that way.
And the thing is that the size of the truck or the size of this vehicle is no different than the size of the standard pickup, more or less. So you could use this as a daily driver. Most people aren't, but
right.
A couple of people out there, hey, you could take this to the job site. You could take this to wherever you're going, and hey, the job site's too far away. You don't want to drive home, or you don't want to rent an apartment, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can sleep inside of it, and it's got all the amenities in there that you would want. That's
I'm
cool.
I'm sure we'll see more about it next week. So make sure you keep an eye on motor1.com.
Yeah. Right now we just have this rendering.
We have the rendering. Yeah. I'm sure Toyota. I don't think we have anybody going to SEMA here, specifically for Motor One.
I don't think so.
But I bet $1 gazillion Toyota will have some images out showing that.
If they're teasing it ahead of time, they'll totally have images of the finished product.
Let me talk about Honda.
Cool.
Because really, Honda's big thing for SEMA, they announced, hey, we have the new Civic Si. So HPD, Honda product development, Honda performance development.
That's one.
They created this new Civic Si race car prototype. Now, this starts as a body in white, and it's then built up as a race car. I mean, it's gutted inside. It's got the cage. It's got all the safety equipment. The idea, this will be their new turnkey race car. This is but just a prototype form right now. And of course, Honda, along with that, they're going to have a bunch of other Civic SIs. There's another Civic Si race car from
Show That Wagon.
We got to build it up, Bruce. Come on, man. Haven't you seen like any television program? You gotta build the suspense. Okay, yeah, you know what? We're gonna skip all of these Civic SIs. SI. Look at this 1552 Project 96 Accord station wagon with a Type R crate engine under the hood. This I'm gonna click on this picture.
I want to drive that thing so bad.
It's a 96 Accord. It's got a period correct 90s racing livery done to it. Yep. It is a race car. There is method to the madness here. Somebody didn't just make a wagon for the fun of it. Honda now offers their Civic Type R crate engine to anybody. Previously, you had to be on a racing team, or you had to have a racing connection, kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you really wanted a Type R engine, crate engine, you could probably get one. But now they've opened it up. You can buy the engine. However, Honda does say it's still for off-road / racing use. So what do? You want to swap it into your Accord wagon. You build a freaking Accord wagon race car. And yeah, I mean, it's got the cage inside. It's got upgraded suspension, upgraded brakes. It's got the Type R engine underneath. And I think it just looks fan-freaking-tastic. I'm in love with this car. This is, and people are like, Smith, you've got a Mustang in your garage and you're into this car? Hell yes, I'm into this car. It's front wheel drive, just a screaming 4-cylinder, long roof. This is the coolest thing I have seen from anybody so far going to SEMA. Judge me as you will. I care not, internet. Honda's also going to have a Passport, Trail Sport, Rugged Roads, a couple overlanding vehicles, Ridgeline, HPD.
What's on
Trail
is that
Tour
a Trail
Project
90 or Trail 125 on the back?
Little, yeah. I mean, just for display purposes, they got a little,
those are cool.
little bike back.
I want
one of those.
It's kind of neat, but yeah, you know what? No. We're not going to look at that. Let me scroll through. Come on, I know there's more wagon photos in here. Where are the wagon photo? Oh, there they are. It is.
I see the tricolor.
That's good.
Yes, the crate engine under there. It just looks so good from every angle. And there, I mean, usually when it comes to SEMA, we get like studio photos or renderings because the vehicles, the builds aren't actually done yet. You need to go to YouTube to see what we're talking about. This Accord wagon is already built and they already have photos of it. It looks like it's at Willow Springs.
That's Willow Springs for sure.
And I love this thing. Yellow, orange, green.
Just imagine seeing that rolling down the road. I feel like I would snap my neck trying to look at it. Because it's so. I just want to hear what it sounds like.
It's going to sound amazing.
It's a clean build. Yeah, there's nothing I don't like about this car. There's absolutely nothing I don't like.
So real quick, the other thing, and technically, if you are a Rambling About Cars listener, you have seen this before, but this is the other vehicle that I'm excited about. Hold on, let me share this. This is from Jeep. They are going to be doing, obviously Jeep is always very, very ubiquitous at SEMA. And so this is their military truck. We've shown it before. I still can't wait to see it. I can't. Like, this year's SEMA just excites me, and I want one of these.
Well, I mean, it couldn't be SEMA without some sort of crazy Jeep in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I hope that Mopar is actually, I hope they're the ones that have the craziest. You never know until you get to SEMA. It's going to be hard to say. I'm not as totally into the Jeep thing as you are, Bruce, but yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do with that particular. I'm really interested to see what they do with that particular one. Let me share this one. And I'm kind of learning about this one here right now because we just wrote about this today. Our colleague Anthony wrote this one.
Oh, I don't know if I've seen this.
This is the Smokey and the Bandit tribute.
Oh, I have seen this.
Chevy Silverado tribute truck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got this.
I'm on board.
It's got the screaming chicken on the hood. Yep. 700 plus horsepower. It's got. I'm not a fan of the new Silverado of the style, but the add-ons to this thing with just the crazy, ridiculous fender flares.
Yep.
That the big chin that would make Jay Leno's chin look small. It's just a ginormous chin, and it's black with a gold trim. Bandit 700 plus. I need to just read this here a little bit. Let's see here. Based on the 2021 Silverado Crew Cab RST, the creation is a new take on the iconic Pontiac Trans Am from the movie that's applied to a street truck configuration. Let's see here. Under the hood is a tuned 5.3 liter V8. That's an interesting choice. I would have expected a 6.2.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I mean, 5.3 V8, 700 horsepower.
And also, viewers, if you want to send me a copy of Smokey and the Bandit, I don't have that on Blu-ray or 4K.
Wait. What? What? Oh, okay. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Ooh,
Smokey and the Bandit. Man. And if you make me angry between now and then, I'm going to get you Smokey and the Bandit 2 and Smokey and the Bandit 3.
I've definitely never seen 3. I think I've seen parts of 2, and it's bad.
2, I mean, it's kind of bad. It's not nearly as bad as 3. So
okay, I've never seen 3.
Got to stick. Burt Reynolds wasn't even in 3. Oh, I take that back. He had like a cameo at the very end. It was Jerry Reed playing the Bandit. Which, I mean, hey, Jerry Reed, God bless him. We miss him. We miss Burt too. Which maybe that's why I'm liking this truck more than I would expect, because I'm a Smokey.
No, because it looks good. That's a cool idea.
It looks good, supercharged.
You know, Pontiac has been dead for 20 years.
It's got Brembo 8-piston brakes. I guess you need that when you have a 5,000 pound or 6,000 pound truck.
I think it's also wide body done right.
Yeah,
I remember I went to SEMA in 2019, and it was just wide body everything. And I think I'm burnt out on wide body builds, but I think this is nice. It kind of fits the extreme that's going on in the front. Like, I like that. Like, even though I'm like over the wide body thing, I actually really like this.
Yeah, I want to see this. I want to see this on the floor at SEMA. I want to see that on the floor at SEMA. Bruce, do you got anything else, or Gabe? Are you interested in anything from SEMA?
So I'm going to, the day before SEMA starts, I'm going to Vegas to drive a Bronco. Oh. I don't know much about it, but
wait, which Bronco? Because we wrote about some Broncos.
Like a Bronco at SEMA, or just a Bronco?
So it's actually at what? Hold on, let me double check here. It's at a Ford. They call it it's called a playground thing.
I think we have that here. Let me share the screen.
I think we do too. I'm pulling it up.
So yeah, I mean, Ford's going to SEMA with 6 Broncos that range from mild to wild. Oh, I wrote this one. That's why it seemed familiar. So there's the Bronco Rtr Fun Runner, just a two-door Bronco that's tweaked up. The Bronco by BDS suspensions. That's kind of cool because they do it in a theme of a pickup truck, but also like a fire rescue pickup truck. It's got a specially made hardtop that basically opens up the rear seating area, has a bed, lifted also. Bronco Baja forged, just minor lifts, some extra parts on the outside. Bronco by Tucci hot rods. Well, that's not the one you were driving?
No,
because that would be awesome with the tracks.
I would love to. So it's the Bronco Off-Road Rodeo. They're calling it.
No,
we don't have that one in here.
I'm sure there will be something. There's an embargo on it, like on the driving impressions and whatnot for Monday.
Oh, okay.
But I'm gonna check out what Ford is doing. I'm actually kind of excited about that. I drove the Bronco for the first time when we did the Star Awards, and I was actually really impressed. Brandon had like this idea to take off the roof, and it was really hot that day, so I kind of retreated to the TRX, and I stayed there most of the day. But what I did drive with the Bronco, I was really happy with it. So I'm really excited to see that, and unfortunately not going to SEMA this year, but I want to see what kind of funky Broncos they got on there.
Good.
Yeah, this will actually be the first like in-person SEMA with a new Bronco.
Yeah,
because we didn't have it last year, so there could be some interesting things there. Very good. Well, gents, I think we're getting just about time here.
Yeah, I think that's a show.
Thanks very much for joining us, coming on the show, giving us your insight with not just Z06, but everything else. We got to have you back on the program, man.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Gabe, where can we find you? Do you have any like social medias, stuff like that, where folks can follow you?
Oh yeah, if you want to follow me, it's just GABVC at Instagram. But for all of my work, it's DuPontRegistry.com, DuPont Registry Daily, which is the blog. We have this TikTok account, which just crossed 100,000 followers on there.
No, congratulations. That's nice.
Yeah, and so I'm going to become a TikToker. That'll be the end of this year.
Closing out 2021 with TikTok. Yeah.
Right. And on Instagram, it's just DuPont Registry. So yeah, on all social media channels.
Yeah, and of course, DuPont is part of the Motorsport Network, which is part of Moto. So we're all one big happy family. In fact, occasionally you'll see DuPont Registry articles on Motor1.com. And I don't know, Vice, does DuPont bring over any of our articles? Any cross post there? Probably not. The content probably isn't. I
thought every once in a while, not commonly, but occasionally.
It really depends. I think the thing is, like, the DuPont audience is so specific about the types of cars and the sort of type of mentality regarding those cars that it almost like you need like content specifically written for DuPont. But yeah, I mean, if you guys ever want to talk anything at all in the supercar world,
we never want to do that. Anytime. What are you talking about?
Exactly. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. We thank you for coming on. And like I said, you are as far as I know, you are the only one in the entire network who has seen the Z06 literally in the metal. So you should be happy about that. That's a cool feat.
I didn't even mention, I'm going to see it tomorrow. I've got some time with it tomorrow at
again? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was like a last minute thing, but I'm going to hopefully shoot like an actual in-depth video with it. And I don't know if we'll be able to drive it, but I know it is a coupe, so probably a Z07 package.
Okay.
Definitely going to go see it up close again. So
nice.
Well, congrats. Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. We want to hear all about it.
Yep. And as always, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We appreciate all of our listeners. I'm sorry we only got to read one comment this week. It was just because we had a lot to talk about. Like we had a lot. Yeah, it's a busy week. So it's not that we, don't think anything of you. It's just the fact that time is a thing. But yeah, we appreciate you. We love your comments. We love your support. We love your likes. Like I said, we had 12 likes since the last 7 days.
And if we get to 20 next week, get to 20 next week, we'll be drinking shots of hot sauce.
That's right. And so only 8 people. 8 people out there of this entire world need to like this podcast or like this YouTube channel, and we will be drinking some hot sauce.
I got a request on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at CH Writing. You follow Chris Bruce 1985.
That's right. Gabriel, what's your Twitter?
It's the same as Instagram, GABVC, just like the name abbreviated.
There you go. I got a request on Twitter saying, hey, you guys should eat Carolina Reapers. For a challenge. So
I'm going to start with Cholula and then we will go from there.
What I'm saying is, hey, we make this challenge next week. I'm prepared to up the ante.
Yeah, same here. I'll up the ante, but let's do
followers. We'll go step by step, but
yeah,
we want you to follow us. Not just because we just want the follows. It helps the program grow. We're growing slowly but steadily, and we're getting some great comments from people. We appreciate it. And yeah, I have no shame. I'll eat a Carolina Reaper if you want to follow us.
Same here.
If you don't mind listening to me just in agonizing pain. But yeah, if you have any other crazy ideas, what can we get these guys to do for followers? We have no shame, folks. Well, I don't have
very little shame. Let's not say no shame.
Bruce is a respectable person. I have no shame, so I'll do anything. I'll do anything for the thumbs up.
I have very little shame. It's not that not no.
I totally derailed this closing. I am so sorry, man.
No, we're good.
I had way too much schnapps in this drink tonight.
Well, it is what it is. Gabe, do you want to sign off for us?
Sure. Well, thank you everybody for listening. See you guys. Hopefully we'll be back in the future, talk some supercars, talk some anything. Thank you for listening.
Exactly. Gabe,
Awesome.
thank you for being here. Smith, thank you for being here. It was a fun episode. It was a lot of fun car talk, and we love doing that, and we love rambling about cars.
And we love spicy food.
I like spicy food. Let's not use love. But here we go. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.